You've rehearsed the conversation 14 times. It's 2:47 a.m. Your boss might mention that email from Tuesday. Your kid might get sick before your Friday meeting. Your sister might bring up the thing at Thanksgiving. And you're planning for all of it in the dark at almost 3 in the morning. Your jaw's tight. Your legs won't stop moving. You've checked the clock 3 times in the last 20 minutes. Your body is exhausted. Your brain feels like a control room with every screen lit up. And deep down, you know most of what you're planning for is never going to happen. If that sounds familiar, you're not weak, dramatic, or broken. What you're experiencing has a name, a mechanism, and a specific psychology that most people never see. Today, we're going to decode what's actually happening when you can't stop worrying, and why the standard advice to just relax has been failing you for a reason that has nothing to do with willpower. First, let's get this straight. Worry is not a personality flaw. Worry is a survival tool your brain uses to predict, prepare, and protect. The problem isn't that you worry. The problem is that your brain has learned to worry about things it can't actually control. Think of it this way. Your brain has a smoke detector. In some people, it fires when there's real smoke. In others, it's set on hair trigger. It goes off when someone microwaves popcorn 3 houses down. You don't have a broken smoke detector. You have a very good one working over time. The first hidden pattern is what researchers call intolerance of uncertainty. This is the unconscious belief that if you can just think about a problem enough, you can prevent it. You rehearse the conversation with your boss so you'll have the right answer. You plan for your kid getting sick because being prepared feels like protection. You imagine every possible Thanksgiving outcome because knowing what's coming feels safer than being blindsided. There's a study by psychologist Thomas Borkovich back in 1983 that showed something wild about this pattern. When chronic worriers try to relax, they actually feel more anxious. Because to their brain, letting go of the mental rehearsal feels like letting go of the wheel of the car. The phenomenon is called relaxation-induced anxiety. It's like Nate from Ted Lasso in the early seasons, rehearsing every apology, drafting every text 3 times. Or the friend who sends you a 5-paragraph message before every difficult phone call. Every word measured, every possible reaction anticipated. Not because they're weak, because their brain has decided that certainty equals safety, and rehearsal is the shortest path to certainty. But here's the trap. The rehearsal never actually reaches certainty. There's always one more angle, one more if-then, one more thing the other person might say. So the mind keeps looping. And the body, which doesn't know the difference between an imagined threat and a real threat, keeps generating stress chemicals to match. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Even if you could stop rehearsing tomorrow, the worry wouldn't stop. Because there's a second pattern working underneath it. One that's harder to see and even harder to admit. Your brain has quietly convinced you that worrying itself is protective, not rationally, but in the same way people knock on wood or refuse to say, "I've never been in a car accident" out loud. Researchers Lafreniere and Newman ran a study in 2019 that changed how we understand this. They asked chronic worriers to track their worries for 30 days, then check which ones actually came true. The result? 91% of the things people worried about never happened. But here's the twist. When you tell chronic worriers this, they don't feel relief. They feel vindicated, because in their brain, the worry prevented the bad thing, like an anti-jinx spell. This is called the "if I feel guilty, I'm safer" logic, and it runs quietly in the background of most chronic worry. But even the anti-jinx logic can't explain the physical part of it. The racing heart, the tight chest, the wired exhaustion that keeps you up long after your brain wants to sleep. That has a completely different source. And this is where the story gets biological. Your brain isn't worrying alone, your body's worrying with it. The HPA axis, the stress system connecting your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenals, has been telling your nervous system, "Stay alert, something's coming." In a healthy stress response, This system fires up in response to a threat and cools down once the threat passes. But in chronic worry, especially in midlife, that cooling down mechanism gets stuck. Cortisol stays elevated. The dimmer switch is stuck up. This, combined with nighttime change in activity in a region of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, is why the worst hour of worry is often between 2 and 4 a.m. Cortisol naturally starts rising in the early hours to prepare you for waking. That's why you can't just stop worrying. Your body is producing the chemical fingerprint of threat, and your brain is trying to explain that fingerprint by finding a reason. It works backward. The body's alarm goes off and the mind fills in the story. This is especially loud during perimenopause and andropause. Estradiol and testosterone both help buffer cortisol's effects on the brain. When those hormones shift in your 40s and 50s, cortisol affects you differently. Worry feels louder, more physical, and harder to shake, even when nothing in your life has actually changed. Here's what makes chronic worry so sticky. All three of these patterns reward the brain in the short term. Rehearsing feels like control. Magical worry feels like protection. Nervous system worry feels like doing something instead of just lying there. That's why just try to relax fails. To your brain, relaxing feels like abandoning your post. But once you can see the mechanism, you can finally start working with it instead of against it. First, name it, don't fight it. When you catch yourself in the loop, try saying, even quietly, "This is my brain doing the rehearsal thing again." That's called cognitive diffusion. It doesn't stop the worry, it just puts a small gap between you and it. Enough of a gap to breathe. Second, schedule a worry window. Pick 15 minutes at 6 p.m. every day. That is your worry time. When worries pop up outside of it, write them down and tell your brain, "We'll get to that at 6. Your brain isn't trying to torture you, it's trying to make sure a threat doesn't slip past your attention. When you give it a scheduled window to review threats, you're honoring the mechanism while taking back the schedule. Most people are surprised that within a week or two, intrusive worries start to drop off during the day. Not because you stopped worrying, because your brain trusts you'll get to it later. Third, regulate the body first, thoughts second. If your nervous system is running the show, no amount of thinking will calm you down. Try a 4-second inhale and a 6-second exhale for 10 cycles. That's 90 seconds. Cold water on your face. A short walk. These aren't stress management tips. They're bottom-up regulation. The trick is to make it small enough that you actually do it. Mid-worry, your brain will refuse anything ambitious. 90 seconds it can handle. When the body settles, the brain can finally take a breath too. For severe anxiety, CBT with a therapist and medications like SSR is maybe needed. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're running a smart brain on hair trigger calibration in a world that hasn't given it much rest. For more content on mental health, subscribe to this channel.